Hey, welcome back to part 2 of the 1JZ S14 build. In the last video, we mocked up the manifold with the ice engine blocks, and today we actually got a little new shop upgrade. Did a video on this. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and check that out. It's a fixture table from Weld. Today we're going to start on working on turning these blocks into stainless pieces. And I know I didn't really go over it in the last video, but the nice thing with these blocks, they have the dimensions on them. So these are 1/2 inch, these ones were inch, these are 30-degree blocks and 15-degree blocks, and they also tell you the diameter, sorry, not the diameter, the centerline radius of the pipe. And this is for manifold specifically, 1.25" pipe, long radius. The kit also comes with tight radius as well, but I try to refrain from using any tight radius on manifolds unless I absolutely have to. So I'm gonna start pulling these runners out, measuring everything, getting all the lengths, and then start turning all this pipe that I have here on the table into runners and get those welded up and mocked up on the jig. And we'll do a final test fit before fully welding everything out. Before I turn into that, I'm going to clean all this pipe, get it prepped, and give it a slight polish before I start cutting and tacking anything together. Alright, so we got the pipe cleaned up and polished. Give it a nice little finish, not too crazy of a polish. Didn't spend a lot of time trying to get that perfect. But so I'm gonna start by pulling one of these runners off at a time and measuring out each section of this and start tacking the runners together. Like I said, one at a time. As I go through, pull a runner off, make my cuts that I need, start tacking it together. Once I get one full runner tacked in, I will then move to the next runner and so on until it's fully tacked together. As you can see, some of these don't line up perfectly, which is fine, because when you weld these runners, it's going to shrink. So you always want to account for the shrinkage of the runners, because if you make it perfect and you weld it together, it's not going to fit anymore. So I always make them a little bit longer for the shrinkage. And a nice little rule of thumb that I go with is for every weld joint, add 1 millimeter of length to the runner. But also you need to add it in the right spots. For instance, this runner, it's going to want to shrink this way and that way, which is where you're going to see it the most. So add a little bit of length here and add a little bit of length in this straight section here, and that'll give you enough room to play with, even if it's a tad bit too long. And if this shrinks too much, we can always add some length in this straight section at the flange. That's super easy to do, and I'll show you how I do that, because that's gonna happen. There's no way around that. So, and for cutting my elbows, I'm gonna be using this cutting fixture that I got from PRL. I don't think they make these anymore, actually, but I can figure out my cuts, adjust to stop, and I know that the cut is going to match up. Tyson's playing with the squeaky toy. What are you doing, Tyson? Anyways, I know that my cut will be the same as the blocks, so.
Baby, baby, baby.
Now that the manifold's all tacked up, we can do the final test fit on the car. As you can see, we got all the runners laid out, 1 through 6. Got all the runner lengths wrote out, so it's easy to see what I need to cut. Made everything just a little long to account for shrinkage. So now I just gotta push my car outside, lower the S14 down, and do the final test fit, see if there's anything that needs adjusted. Now is a good time to do it before I start welding it out. And I can make adjustments as I go once the runners are welded. But it's really good to test fit before you start welding anything out, just in case you know something hits. Then you gotta change that runner. It's happened a few times. It's even happened after the manifold's been done, and changing the runners after that is a little tricky, but it's doable. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this manifold test fitted, and then we're gonna start welding this out. Now that the manifold's bolted in, we can check to see if it's hitting anything, if there's any clearance issues, but it's not hitting anything. However, number 1 runner, it's pretty close, but it's not touching. And that's without the gasket. The gasket's gonna add about 50 thousandths of thickness, so it's gonna space it back some, but definitely gonna keep an eye on that as I'm welding this together and everything's shrinking. So I might need to make an adjustment to that first runner. There's some room here that if I need to, I could add a little bit of a straight to this to kind of space it off, but we'll have to keep in mind that this is going to push it forward, so yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that as we're welding it together. Maybe probably do 1 and 6 first, since they're going to be the lowest ones on the collector. They'll be the easiest to weld. So probably weld these 2 up first, tack them back on, and test fit it, and then weld it in. So yeah, let's pull this off and weld it out. Alright, so I got the first runner welded up, which is runner number 6. Welds came out decent. Could have been a little bit better. But yeah, we'll see what this fitment looks like now that it's welded. Lines up pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this tacked in. I'm gonna tack this one pretty heavy in a few spots. And then the I think was number 1. Yeah, gonna do this one next, as this one was very tight clearance to the coolant line on the motor. So once I get that one tacked in lightly, because I gotta pull it back out. Actually, tack this one in heavy, weld that one out, then loosely tack it in, and make sure it's good. And then once those are final, I'll go ahead and weld those 2 runners to the flange and to the collector, and then to the last 4 runners. Got the number 1 runner fully welded now, and I actually had to adjust this. It was kind of dipping low at the collector, so I ground out some material to angle it back up, and fits angle wise is pretty good, but it's just a tad low. It's kind of hard to capture. Anyways, it's low, and not by much. All right, there we go. Just a smidge low. So I already prepped it, beveled the bottom side, because I usually don't do that when welding to the flange. Got a piece here that's beveled. I'm going to tack this long piece on and weld it. A couple reasons. One, it's very hard to weld just a tiny piece to the runner. It's basically just gonna like melt away for the bit that I actually need. And if it's like even a little bit longer, honestly, even up to like 1 inch long, you're gonna put a lot of temperature in this this piece, and by welding the full length on, or whatever piece of scrap you got, that will disperse the heat some. You're not going to over temp your metal, and it's not going to discolor like crazy. And it's easy to clamp to put in the bandsaw to cut. So I'm just going to weld this on, and probably just leave like just cut right on the edge of the weld, So probably be like a couple mil that I'm adding on, and then if it's too tall, I can just like slowly belt sand it away until it fits. So that's what I'm gonna do. After welding a little bit on and cutting it, I polished out the weld a little bit because it's got to slip inside the that groove, and with the weld it kind of doesn't slip in there very easy. But much better. So gonna tack this in and do one more test fit, and then weld these two runners in if everything's good. Alright, so we got the two runners tacked on and got it bolted onto the motor. Went ahead and put the gaskets in too. And there we go. It's got an air gap there. It's actually bigger than what it was before, so should be good. And if we actually needed to, it's just a coolant pipe for the heater core. If needed, you could actually just massage it a little bit with a hammer, just kind of dent it in. It's not going to really affect anything. Some people delete those, and then some people take that tube off altogether and put an AN fitting there. But I will note this down for any future manifolds I build off of this jig, and hopefully make sure that doesn't happen where it interferes with that coolant pipe. But now that this one's verified, it clears, good to go with the rest of the manifold. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this off, weld these two fully in, and then just move on down the line of the rest of the runners. Just finished welding up the manifold, minus doing the wastegate part. Going to mock that up in the car after I get it unbolted from the jig, so I can locate the wastegate and get that put on and welded. But aside from that, the manifold is 100% finished welded, and here's how it came out. It's looking pretty sweet, and I wanted to go over a couple of things. I always get asked, how do I weld inside the collector area, for the last runner, and it's actually fairly easy for the most part, because as you're building these manifolds, you're going to want to think about that and give yourself some room to get to the welds, and think about your order of operations. It's like it's almost like playing a game of chess when you're welding a manifold and building a manifold. You got to think about your move like 10 steps ahead. Make sure if you weld this pipe in, it's not going to block you from getting to the other pipe, and so on. So I'll show you a couple things that I do if I get myself in a tight situation. I can't really get the torch in there, but let's kind of go ahead and show you guys that everything is completely welded. Try to get it's hard to get the camera in here, but yeah, everything's welded on the inside. Now, you're not always gonna have the best most consistent looking welds on the inside, because you're limited to torch angle and all that fun stuff. But it is fully welded. It's back purged. Everything's pretty much good to go. So as you can see, it's got a lot of room right here, and I can actually fit my torch in here all the way. Get this last joint welded. Super easy, like way too easy actually. I've had other designs that are actually a lot harder to do than this, but it's still not impossible. And then another thing I want to show you is, let's get this propped up. Got just a dummy torch, not really dummy, it's just not hooked up for this example. Bendable tungsten. This stuff is a game changer. Although people have been bending tungsten for many years, this makes it way easier. And Blue Demon is the only one that makes this. It's their True Flex tungsten. And I don't know the science behind it. I'm guessing it's annealed before they ship it out, because when you do weld on it, it doesn't bend anymore. Not easily. You'll snap it, but before this came out, you would pretty much just get your tungsten red hot, grab it with some pliers or something, and bend it before it cools. But this stuff, you can just bend it right out of the box and then get going after it. But I welded this runner in first, or second. This one was first. 6 was first, first was second. And then when I welded in the second, welded in cylinder 2 runner, I realized this dips down pretty low, and getting to this weld joint was pretty difficult. With just the regular straight tungsten. So with this bent tungsten, I was able to get in here pretty easy and get all the way around this joint. I did get a little aggressive. Probably could have made it a little bit nicer if I didn't have this so long after the bend, because it's like right on the edge of the cup to get that shielded with argon. And you can kind of tell that The coloring's not the best, but it's not trashed. It's still good, but I'm just being very picky. But yeah, so having a big cup for really good coverage, bendable tungsten, and just planning out your build, and making sure even before you weld it, like when I had it mocked up with the plastic pieces, I made sure that it was weldable before even cutting the first piece of stainless. So yeah, now that that's finished, I can lower the car down tomorrow, test fit the manifold in the car. Well, not test fit, but get it bolted in the car, bolt the turbo on, start mapping out the downpipe, and then I can get the wastegate on the car and start doing the dump tube for that, and do the charge pipe, modify the charge pipe for it. So getting the manifold done is always like the first big ticket of getting the project rolling. I feel like once the manifold's done, everything else goes by super fast. So I'm out of argon, so first thing tomorrow morning, gonna load up all my bottles. Got 2 there, 1 on the welder. Gonna go hit up the welding store, get those swapped out for some new ones. Get back, throw that in the car, get the turbo on, and keep this rolling. But I might end this video here and post this up on YouTube's and whatnot, and make the downpipe and all that stuff, the exhaust stuff, a separate video. So I'm trying to keep these videos fairly short. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions, I can go more in depth on the next time, or on the next manifold I do. Yeah, hope you enjoy this content. Let me know what else you guys want to see and whatnot. So see you in the next one.